Mexican cuisine. And I don't know about you, but I absolutely love Mexican food. And so I am excited to see what the chef is going to bring to us today. If you have not already, please get your notepads, get your pen, your pencil, whatever utensil you need to write with, but get ready as this episode is going to be one for the record books. So again, we'll get started in about 1 minute countdown. There are a few people coming in. We want to give them some time, but I hope that you are excited for today's episode. Again, this is episode number 2. Let's get cooking with Chef Tom, and he is going to bring to us an excellent cuisine, and it is going to focus on Mexican theme, and so it's going to be exciting. Stay tuned.
Test 1, 2.
What the crap?
Just soup for you guys.
Yeah, it looks like something. Stop sharing screen.
All right, I think the chef is ready. He was just testing his mic, but I think he is ready. So ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce to some, present to others, no other than Chef Tom Long. He is one of the most amazing chefs you'll ever meet. So again, I hope you got your notebook ready, your pen ready, take lots of notes, and we will also send out the recipes. So be on the lookout for that. Also, the video is being recorded, so in case you got to jump off, you can go back and catch the replay. All right, I will turn it over now to no other than Chef Tom.
Hi, everybody. Thank you very much, Cindy, for that great introduction. So everybody knows we're in the middle of Hispanic Heritage Month. So what we want to do today is we want to celebrate one of the Hispanic cuisines. So there's a picture off to my right here of a gentleman who I had the opportunity and the privilege to work with when I was executive chef at Franklin and Marshall College. His name is Francisco Hernandez Torres. And I worked for a company called Sodexo, and they had a program called Global Chef. And what Global Chef was is they actually brought in chefs from other countries to come in and do a meal at the college for the students. And so this gentleman I got to know, I had to pick him up at the airport. He was in charge of 4 different large bank cafeteria type settings in Mexico City. Very outgoing, very bright young chef. And he brought his dishes to Franklin and Marshall for the students. So the food you're going to see today is not going to be what I call Mexican American, because Mexican American to me is the taco, the burrito, the quesadilla, the stuff that you might find in a traditional retail setting in a restaurant. The food you're going to see today are things that you may have never heard of, different types of dishes. We're going to do a chicken tortilla soup that doesn't have chicken in it, but it has chicken stock. We're going to do a beef salad, a steak salad, but it's steak prepared a different way with different ingredients. We're going to do a dessert with apples. So you're going to see all different, so I have 4 different things to show you today. So the first thing I want to do is say thank you, Francisco. I know you're not watching, but I wish you could be. So we're going to make the tortilla soup. So what I did was I made some chicken stock here, and I'm going to get that started because this actually is the dish that takes the longest. But it's chicken stock where you use some meaty things like wings, backs to try to get as much flavor as you can. I took the fat out, but in the stock I put some carrots, some onions, some garlic, and I'm going to try to get that started and get that boiling. And this is going to make about 1 quart of soup. And over here I got a skillet, and what I want to do is I want to start to char some peppers and onions. I just put a little bit of oil in there. And you'll notice in a lot of these cuisines that peppers, onions, tomatoes, they're standard across the board. And I got some red pepper. Once I get these cooking, I'm going to get them started, and I'm going to add my tomatoes. If you can look over here right behind me, I have some products that are authentic Mexican cuisine type products. So we have epazote, which is actually like a tea but we're actually going to use it in this soup. And I know you're thinking, where'd you get this stuff, Chef Tom? There's a place down on Cameron Street called Tres Hermanos, and it's a Mexican restaurant, and it's also a Mexican grocery store, and they have all this kind of stuff in there, and that's where I got the cheese that we're going to use for the soup, the tortillas, which are what these are. They're just a little nicer than what you would get into the grocery store. And then this is a chili pasilla. So it's actually a dark chili, roasted and dried. And I'm going to show you how I clean them. And we're actually going to cut it up, and I already have some cut up. But we're going to cut it up and throw them in the fryer and deep fry them and just crisp them up. But they have a wall of all different kinds of chilies. So chili is just a word for pepper. So these are all different kind of peppers. You see, we're starting to get a little bit of char on our onions. That's what I want. And then the cheese that we're going to use for this is called queso panela. And it's a very soft, it's delicious. It comes just like this. And this is like a 3/4 of a pound. It's $4. A lot of the stuff isn't expensive, but if you want to get authentic items, you're not going to find this at the White Store or the Giant. You just won't. So we'll get some of this going. I wanted to add a little salt and pepper to this as I'm cooking. Just helps to bring out some of the flavors. Now I'm going to add my tomatoes. We're going to get that cooking. And while that's cooking, I want to show you how I do one of these peppers. Just so you can see my board. So this is what the pepper looks like. And of course it's large, it's dried, it has a stem. So I'm just going to cut the end of it off. You're going to see all the seeds and the membrane in there. I don't want that part. I want the skin. So I'm going to get rid of all that. And then I'm going to open this up. You notice I have gloves on. Peppers are hot. And if you touch them with bare hands, you'll wish you wouldn't. All right, we got them going. So I'm going to open that up and I'm going to roll it. Get the rest of the seeds out. And then I'm going to cut it into strips. Just like so. And this is actually going to be a garnish for our soup. I have here also some tortillas. I kind of did the same thing to cut those, but I just want to show you a real quick trick for them. Basically, I fold them in half. To make my cut, like that. Do a real quick 1/4 inch stripe. Kind of tuck them, and there we go. And then these are our fried tortilla garnish that we're going to use for our soup also. All right, our veggies are starting to char. So real quick, I'm going to fry up my tortillas and my peppers. Now, I know everybody doesn't have a deep fryer at their house. But these are items that you could do if you feel safe enough to do them on top of the stove, or if you have a mini fryer, you can do that. So the idea with the tortillas is to get them enough color. Don't take them too far because they keep cooking. So you kind of take them to golden brown. All right, this is just about ready. All right, looks good. And now I'm going to fry up my peppers. They only take about 10, 15 seconds. It's really just to crisp them up. All right, beautiful. Excellent. Okay, you see that didn't take long, and that's kind of what the finished product looks like. And that's going to be a garnish for our soup. All right, so these veggies are ready. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to puree them. So they have to have a little bit of char, and that's kind of what gives it flavor. All right, take that off. So I have a food processor here. I'm going to put as many of these in here as I can. And the tomatoes I used were Romas because they have less seeds in them. All right, looking good, looking good. Okay. Now, that's all kinds of flavor there going on. So my small pot, what I want to do, I got my stock hot. I'm going to put my puree in there. And I'm going to add my stock. That smells good. So you'll notice when I show you this finished product here, I don't want it to be too thin because the puree, I'm not using any kind of thickener like cornstarch or roux. My thickener is my pureed vegetables. All right, beautiful. Looks good. So we're going to do a display just so you can see what it looks like. Very nice. All right, like I said, there's no chicken in this. So my garnishes are my cheese. And I'm going to come around here and actually do the garnish so you can see it. My tortillas, my peppers, and then I got a little bit of avocado here. So I want to put some of that on there too. Now, when I do a soup, I don't like big garnishes because they don't fit on the spoon. I like to have everything be diced, if at all possible. This is a Florida avocado. Sorry, Francisco. But they were on sale. And they're a little bigger, and they clean a little easier than a Mexican avocado. You can see by the size, it doesn't have the dimpled skin. All right. So our garnish, one last thing. Just a little bit of sour cream in the center to build on. Like that. Okay. A little bit of avocados on the outside. Some of our cheese. Our cheese is diced. Cheese melts as it hits the soup and starts to get warm. Some of our tortillas nested on top. And some of our peppers nested on top also. So this is authentic Mexican tortilla soup from Mexico City. Looks great. Smells delicious. And you saw that didn't take that long to put together. The whole key to any good soup, of course, is stock. All right. So Thank you, Chef. Our next item is going to be a taquita. Actually might be doing 2 recipes at once because this one takes just a little bit of time, but it doesn't take forever. But this is kind of like a shrimp taco, but it has bacon in it. And I know what you're thinking, bacon. Yes. Mexican cuisine has a lot of pork products in it, so it's not an uncommon thing. And when Francisco showed us how to do this, we had a big grill at F&M called a Mongolian grill station. It was a big round 6-foot grill. And we did them right on there and just warmed them on both sides. The students loved them. So what I have here for this is some shrimp. Now, this isn't a lot of shrimp. It's 12 ounces of shrimp. Comes in the shell. And all I did was take the shell off. It was already deveined, and then cut them in half. Some red, some green pepper, and some onion. This is a very simple recipe. So we're going to fry up our bacon. While our bacon's cooking, I'm going to talk to you about the salad. The only thing that really takes some time in this process is getting the bacon crisp, but this will go pretty good. So if you don't know what kind of burner I'm cooking on, it's called an induction burner. It's what we use here at the Chef's Apprentice at our action station. And you need to have pans that have steel bases because it actually works with magnets. It's kind of amazing. But they get pretty hot, hotter than you would think they do. All right, so we're going to let that get that going. So I'm going to kind of sit these off to the side here. And as my bacon gets ready, gets closer, I'll bring them into the different stages. Smelling good, gentlemen. I want to thank IT. We have a couple people here from IT that are doing the camera work for us. Each show that we do, we feel like it gets a little bit better as far as sound and vision. And, you know, we get a lot of support here at Harrisburg Area Community College to try to bring things to the students and show them that we still exist and we still love what we do. This is some onion. I want to put my onions in first because I'd like to get them a little caramelized. So I used Applewood smoked bacon. That you can get at any grocery store just because it has a nicer smoke flavor than just regular bacon. And it doesn't really cost anymore, just it's a preference. All right, we're getting there, looking good. So for my taquita, I'm gonna need 10-inch, I have here 10 tortillas, these are 8-inch tortillas. And the typical taco tortilla is a 6-inch, which is a little small for this. So I picked an 8-inch because I want to have a little bit of room to work with. All right. There we go. All right, it's looking good, looking good. Once our bacon gets a little crisper, we're going to get started because once I put other ingredients in, like the shrimp is going to put off some liquid and that stops the bacon from crisping. I don't know if you understand that, but bacon gets crisp in its own fat. So by adding like a raw protein like shrimp, it makes the fat come up from the bottom of the pan. So the bacon actually isn't cooking in its own fat. It's starting to actually like boil a little bit. So once we get it to where we want, we'll be ready to do that. Okay, I'm going to use the same skillet here that I did the peppers and onions in to just warm up my tortillas once I'm done. All right, we're getting there. All right, I'm going to add some red bell pepper and some green bell pepper. right? Because they're not really going to put off a lot of liquid, but they need a little bit of time to cook. Okay. And then what's interesting about this dish is because your typical taco, you always have all the garnishes on the side. This dish, you actually take the cheese at the very end and you mix it right into all this stuff. And then you put it into your shell.
Chef Tom, one of the students was wondering what kind of bacon is best to use for this recipe?
I like applewood smoked bacon. It just has a little bit more smoke flavor, but if you like hickory smoke or it's really a preference for you. Because if you could stand here and smell it right now, it's got one of those come to me things going on, just because it's smoked a little harder.
Awesome,
All right.
thank you.
So if you could see my bacon, it's cooked, but it's not crispy. And that's okay because it's going to go into a sandwich, technically a Mexican sandwich. So I have my shrimp here. My shrimp's raw, and I'm adding them last because shrimp don't take a long time to cook, and I don't want to cook them too far ahead because then they get kind of rubbery. So the goal here is they actually go in last.
And I believe there was also a question of what brand of bacon I believe it was that you used.
Okay, so actually I'm using Weiss store quality, but Hatfield also makes a great applewood smoked bacon. It's just whatever price point you want to pay. But yes, this is, I believe, Weiss store quality. Yep, and it's fine. It's delicious.
Yeah, it looks great.
Oh, so we're going to let that kind of cook up. It's not going to take a whole lot longer. So if you ever get into a situation where you're trying to push something, this is always a little bit of a tip, especially if you have two pans the same size, is put a lid on it. And basically what I'm doing is keeping the heat on the inside. Okay. And while I do that, what I'd like to do is just shred a little bit of lettuce for a garnish for our plate. And I'm going to slice some tomatoes. Steve, can you give me some towels? All right. So how are we doing? Oh, look, that was the thing right there. Yep. My shrimp are cooked. They're not rubbery. Just that couple minutes of putting the lid on it like finishes it off. So, like I said, I'm taking my cheese and I'm mixing this right in here. Okay. And what's going to happen is it's going to melt and make a mess, but it's okay because it's kind of what we want. Thank you. Also, I know you can't see him, but he's a support person for me as I go through this. Chef Steve is here helping with the process in case when I usually do, I miss something or I forget something. He's my go-to guy. All right, man, does that ever look good? So I don't know if you can see that, but it's kind of cheesy. I'm getting the cheese to melt. And then I take my tortilla. I'm just going to put a little bit in each one. All right. I'm going to turn that off because it's melted. It's ready to go. Just like that. And you kind of fold them over. What happens is the cheese kind of holds them together. Okay. So I just want a little bit of oil in here because what I want to do is just brown them a little bit on each side. Boy, they look good, guys. Nice and cheesy. You don't need a lot because once you fold them, they kind of spread out. All right, so we're going to let them get browned up. It's not going to take long. And I'm going to get my plate set up. I picked a black plate because we're lucky enough to have them here at the Harrisburg Area Community College. The students have a lot of stuff at their fingertips to kind of create, and that's the way we want it. Okay. Just like that. And basically, we want it to be brown, not dark, but a little crispy. So it becomes a taquita. All right. You saw how long this took? Not long at all. We're going to put our taquitas on this plate. Now, if you would want to open up your taquita and put in lettuce and tomato, you could do that. Just like that. Okay? It does not require sour cream because you already have a dairy fat in there with the cheese. All right. Boy, they smell good. Yep. Yeah, I hope there's some left for me. So, all right. Thank you very much, Chef. Our next dish is going to be a steak salad. And I know I told you it's a little different because even here at the restaurant, our steak salad is a flank steak, and we marinate it and we grill it. Well, this is a different process. And I have to tell you, this was, in my opinion, Francisco's best dish. It was just delicious. So I bought a flake steak, and they're not inexpensive. They're expensive. And I cut it into cubes, and I put it in. I boiled it with some carrots and some onions and some garlic in a pot, and I made a stock. But basically, the idea of what I want is to get like a shredded beef. So that's what this looks like. So this is steak meat that was cooked, and you pull it off like that to give it a shred, and that's how you break, and that's how it's dispersed. So you think, well, actually what's unique about it is it goes a long way, because what you're doing, instead of serving big slices of meat, you're shredding it. Now this is just cooled down a little bit, so it's not going to shred quite as easy, but it's still shredding. And it's best if you can serve this warm. Okay. There we go. There's a little bit more. And you can see it comes off very quick. And if I had a microwave at my fingertips, I'd warm it up just a little bit. Because anytime you're cleaning cooked protein, it cleans better, it cools better when it's warm. And I'm going to pull enough here just to do the display. All right. So what we have our beef. Okay. Now this is a salad that would make a nice family style dinner. Basically, I'm going to put my greens in here. What I have in here is cut romaine. So you could use spring mix. You could use spinach and spring mix, whatever your preference is. I'm doing romaine just because it's a little hardier. It stands up. Spring mix is very delicate, so when you put a lot of stuff on it, it kind of sinks. So I need something that's got a boost, because I knew what kind of bowl I was going to use and what kind of presentation I was going for. All right. So I'm going to kind of build it up in the middle. And these are my accoutrements for my salad. I'm going to change my cutting board because I'm going to cut up some produce. So I have some Roma tomatoes that are diced. I like to build things on the side and the corners. That way, if somebody doesn't like the tomatoes, they don't have to take them. This is some of the panela cheese again, and you can see it's very soft. All right, and I'm just going to put a little bit in the corner of each one. And if I'm mispronouncing that, I apologize. I majored in French, not Spanish, but I do my best. Some white onion. You could use red onion if that was your preference. Going to put my beef kind of down the middle, just like that. And I want to cut up a little avocado. Again, this is my Florida avocado. I want to pull that off, get the skin off. And these don't seem to oxidize as much as the Mexican avocados, and they're bigger. You get a little bit more out of them. All right, so I'm going to cut up some avocado. I'm going to sprinkle that on like so. Our last item is some carrot. Just want to make sure it's fresh looking. I already peeled it, cut it in half. Just do it on a biased, real thin. Just like so. And then this is the amazing part. When I tell you this, you're going to go, no way. The dressing for this is the juice from a jalapeno, a pickled jalapeno jar. So now these are sliced, tamed jalapenos. So if you go in the grocery store, you'll see tamed and hot. So you can probably figure out what tamed means. Doesn't mean they trained them. It just means they're not as hot. So for the dressing, you pour off some of your juice, like so. And all these kind of shelf-stable, pickled type things have sugar in them, okay? So we need a little bit of vinegar just to make the dressing. And I always put a little salt and pepper in it. And that is it. That's as easy as it is. And then basically, that gets poured over. And when we served this, as this was actually went out to the faculty at Franklin Marshall, they went crazy over it, and just to know what the dressing was, it was mind blowing. So, but you know what? Being creative with simple is better. So here you go, Francisco. I'm going to clean up my table, and then we'll make our last dish, and it's actually dessert, and it's not a churro. Okay. All right, so this is actually called a sweet apple salad. And all the recipes that Francisco gave me for any type of sweets had a sour cream type base. So I have two types of apples here. I have a Golden Delicious, and then I have a Honey Crisp. So both good eating apples. All right, good stuff. Now what I did, and I cut these probably a half an hour ago, and they still haven't turned. And the whole reason, I squeeze a half of an orange over top of it. I know a lot of people say lemon, but you know the thing is, what you're going to see is the orange juice that's in here is going to be part of the dressing. So I don't want lemon with sour cream. So orange actually helps make it sweeter. Believe it or not, I actually taught Francisco that. So what we have here is a bowl. We're going to mix our dressing, and it's just a 1/4 cup of sugar. And an 8-ounce container of sour cream. And we're going to mix that together to kind of make a sweet sauce. And then we're going to add all our ingredients to it. Very, very simple. Now, if you wanted to, you could put some cinnamon in here. I don't, because this is his recipe and this is how he perceived it. And he taught me that this is how they eat it. So now I'm going to pour my apples in and have some of that orange juice. That's actually going to help make the dressing a little thinner. All right. Just like that. So this is kind of like what we do in the United States called Waldorf salad. It's just, we don't use mayonnaise. We use mayonnaise. I actually use mayonnaise and sour cream. So I have here some diced peaches. Okay. Some chopped walnuts. And then some raisins. We're just going to put them in there. And if you didn't have raisins, if you had currants, if you don't like raisins, you could probably use craisins if that's what you like. Depends on how authentic you want it to be. It's very simple, and it's something that you would mix together. It could be a dessert, it could be a side salad, but you want to do it at the last minute. Because even though it has some acid to help keep it from turning, if it sits out for a while, the apples will eventually get brown. Okay, I'm going to plate this up. Very simple. And if you wanted to, you could dust the top with some more raisins, some more walnuts, just to give it some more color. Francisco put a cherry on top of his. So that's it. Very good. And he had done a couple different recipes. He did another one with strawberries the same way. And it's just like their dessert sauce. So I loved it. It was an honor to work with him. It was an honor to work with items I had never worked with before. I had never walked into Tres Hermanos until I took him in there with me, and this was 6 years ago. And he started showing me all these different things and what they meant, where they came from. It was quite an education. And we still kept in touch for about 3 or 4 years. I actually wrote a letter of reference for him for a position. So we built that kind of relationship. So does anybody have any questions about any of the dishes that we did today?
Yeah, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to just put them in the chat and I'll let Chef Tom know. And thank you again. That looks delicious.
It is really good. The beef salad it's amazing. And you would just think the juice from a pickled jalapeno jar, but it really is. It's delicious.
Yeah, I had no idea that they used the juice like that. That's really cool. Does anyone have any questions for Chef Tom?
So we're going to have the recipes out probably early next week. And you'll be able to, and too, if you have questions or you watch the video and you didn't get a chance to ask a question, you can also email me a question at tjlong@hack.edu. I'd be glad to answer a question about any of the recipes we've done.
Awesome. Well, it looks like we don't have any questions right now, so I just wanted to say thank you again so much, Chef Tom.
It was my pleasure. And I want to thank the two fellows from IT, Chris and Chris. It's the two Chris. And Chef Steve also for being my runner and helping me set up and prep. So you can't do it by yourself. So thank you very much. And also Cindy, too, for being our put together, making it all happen.
And don't forget, everyone, that make sure you join us every second and fourth Thursday of the month, 11:30, this same Zoom room, and he'll be doing more of this cooking show. And if there's any other events,
Actually,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
it's okay. I wanted to tell you, just to give you a little bit of promotion, our next class will be on the 22nd, and the class is going to be called Pumpkin Who? That's exactly right. So we're going to do all kinds of things with different kinds of pumpkins, different forms of pumpkin, and pumpkin spice, because it's pumpkin spice. It just seems to be everywhere right now, everywhere you go. So we want to dive into what makes pumpkin spice, and what can you do with a can of pumpkin. So
That sounds awesome.
all right. Thank you very much, everybody.
Awesome, thank you. And yeah, don't forget to check out more of our events. It's on the Hack Events calendar, which I put in the chat. So just make sure you all save that to see more events that we're having here at Hack. And thank you so much again, everyone, for coming. And thank you, Chef Tom.
My pleasure.